Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with Abby Martin from Empire Files. Hi, Abby. How are you? So we're looking at the today immigration, and so you know that Laura Ingraham is a horrible person, and the way you can tell is she wears a crucifix around her neck, right? So anybody who's publicly religious like that is full of it, and that includes the Pope. And so here she is. She's going to talk about immigration and one of the most disingenuous. So this is like someone who considers themselves to be a Christian, justifying the most horrific stuff in the world, ripping kids away from their parents because they're seeking asylum in the United States. So let's listen to how horrible she is.
Full liberal outrage in the destruction of the rule of law. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
Full liberal outrage.
Every country has an obligation to protect its borders and its citizens, particularly one as expansive and as generous as the United States. Now, for too long, immigration law was ignored, frankly, and basically unenforced.
That's just making up a lie. That's just a lie. That's just a lie. Barack Obama deported even more people than Trump did for his first year. Barack Obama deported more people than all the presidents combined since 1890. So that's just a lie. That's not true. So her jumping off point is a lie. And when you have to lie to make your argument, that means you don't have an argument. And now what she's really doing is just sticking up for horrible, inhumane behavior of the most horrific kind. It's that short of sticking up for murder. And that's who Laura Ingraham is. She's a horrible person. And here we go.
Tried to kind of enforce it in an ad hoc fashion, but its policies, which I'm going to get to in a moment, only ended up exacerbating our problems at the border. So today we have a full-on crisis. 160% increase in the number of people illegally entering the United States from just last year. Well, the president is responding with a zero-tolerance message, which he reiterated today.
The United States will not be a migrant camp, and it will not be a refugee holding facility. Won't be. You look at what's happening in Europe, you look at what's happening in other places. We can't allow that to happen to the United States, not on my watch.
Now, the president is now doing what we should have been doing all along, prosecuting all border crashers.
Okay, they're not criminals because you cross the border. People can come to the United States seeking asylum. Did you know that 98% of the children, when given a lawyer, are granted asylum in the United States? Do you know that those kids have a legal right to be here? Because what are they doing? They're fleeing political persecution or actual violence in their own home country, certain death. They're fleeing it. So in a lot of places like El Salvador, Guatemala, there's a drug war happening that we've exported here in the United States, which got ramped up heavy right around 2013, 2014. And that's why there's been such an influx of people coming here since then. But guess what? We still have net zero immigration in the United States. So with all the fear mongering she's doing, she wants you to think we're being overwhelmed by immigrants illegally coming into our country. We're not. It's net zero immigration, meaning just as many immigrants come into our country and just as many leave. So there is no crisis. She's making this up. This is, again, scapegoating people coming here for asylum or trying to have a better life. They're not just sitting around going, I'm lazy. Maybe I'll just make a trek across Mexico, face almost certain death, because I'm lazy. And I want to go suck off the teat in America. That's not what's happening. And like I said, the kids who are brought here have a right to be here legally because they're being granted asylum whenever they're granted a lawyer. So here we go.
So if you enter the country illegally, you're breaking the law. The United States is not an open repatriation center where any indigent person in the world feels free to just walk in and assume that all of us will take care of all of them and their families.
Again, that's that thing of these loafers Hey, why don't you go to a restaurant and see who's working at the restaurant? When you eat a piece of fruit, guess who picked it? So Mexicans are okay to raise your kids, pick your fruit, cook your food, wash your cars, cut your lawn. But when you don't want them, when you want to demonize them, you just say, what do they want us to take? They're the ones who take care of us. You stupid Samantha B word. They're the ones who take care of us.
Process, and it has to be respected. Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen said this today.
We are a compassionate country that has taken in millions of refugees. Since 1975, the United States has welcomed more than 3 million refugees from all over the world. And each year typically admits nearly 2/3 of the world's settled refugees. That is more than all other countries combined. We will not apologize for the job we do or for the job law enforcement does for doing the job that the American people expect us to do. Illegal actions have and must have consequences. No more free passes, no more get out of jail free cards.
Again, this immigrating to the United States is not an illegal act. If you're coming here, you seek asylum, you're supposed to get a court hearing. And when those kids are given a lawyer, they're granted asylum. So you're acting like, oh, there's terror. So that's the big problem. ICE was invented after 9/11, and it was put under the auspices of Department of Homeland Security. So now ICE deals with immigration like they're all terrorists, instead of what they are, refugees seeking asylum in a place that legally offers them asylum. You know what it says on the Statue of Liberty? Bring me your poor, huddled masses yearning to be free. And what she would say, those people are fucking criminals. Keep them out. That's what she's saying. She's a horrible person. This is a bullshit take. She's not sincere. She knows what she's saying is bullshit. So if you agree with her, you're a dupe, because even she doesn't believe that shit. And you notice she's not wearing her fucking cross when she does this segment. I don't see the cross on her this segment. She normally has a cross to let you know she's a hypocrite. But now you have to actually just figure it out by watching. Abby, do you have anything? I'm going to play more of this because it gets even dumber and more disingenuous. But any comments so far?
Laura Ingraham, I love her because she was a plagiarist, and that's why she couldn't be the communications director for Trump. So now she's back on Fox, bullshitting her through her teeth. Again, this is all just partisan hackery, because we know that this is just throwing red meat to the anti-immigrant base.
Yes,
and just fostering this anti-immigrant stuff. When basically she should love Obama's policies,
right?
Oh, why doesn't she love his policies? This was the deporter in chief, deported 2 million people in more than Bush's entire term, like you said. So I just don't understand. It's just completely disingenuous, but I couldn't agree with you more. Immigration is good. And again, capitalism needs undocumented immigrants because they subsidize entire industries, the agricultural industry, like you said, the restaurants, car washes, maid services, hotel workers. I mean,
nannies.
They love and depend on undocumented immigrants. So they're using this to just like dredge up this
right.
base.
So these are the most vulnerable people. They're poor. They have no power, no money, and when they come here, capitalism, our corporations exploit the shit out of them, and they work their ass off. But she's going to make you think they're a bunch of fucking loafers who are trying to scam us. And studies have proven that the states with the most amount of immigration have the best economies. Here we go.
Well, consistent with American law, when a party is arrested, your children are either sent to relatives or they become wards of the state. So since more illegal immigrants are rushing the border, more kids are being separated from their parents and temporarily housed in what are essentially summer camp.
Summer camp.
Look at the picture over her shoulder as she says these are essentially summer camps. Do you see the picture? There are people in cages lying on a floor. What is that?
Like
Mylar?
tinfoil or something.
With like a tinfoil blanket, like a Mylar. That's summer camp to you, Laura? Even your own bullshitting, if you turned your head just to the right, just a little bit, just turn your head a little bit, you'd be like, oh, I guess that outs me as being full of shit as I'm talking. Yes. Yes, the picture over your own picture over your shoulder reveals you to be a bullshit artist, and a bad one. It's like, here's the lie. Now I'll fucking talk to you. It's unbelievable.
Or as the San Diego Union Tribune described them today, as looking like basically boarding schools. Having lost the argument and, frankly, the last election, liberals have seized on the separated children and turned the...
She goes like it's not real. Separated children. That means that it's not... When you do this, that means it's not real, or you're mocking. That's really... No one's denying that that's happening, Laura, except you right now, by doing this. Trump admits they're separating children. The Department of Homeland Security admits they're separating children. Corey Lewandowski, the entire fucking right wing admits it. They're happy about it. Why are you pretending that? So again, she's such a bad bullshit artist. That's why a high school kid got her taken off the air for a fucking week. Remember the last time she made news? It was because she was mocking a teenager's college transcripts. That's what she was doing.
Higher image into a political weapon, attempting to emotionally manipulate the public perception of immigration enforcement.
Emotionally manipulate. So if you have a normal emotion like a human being, you're being manipulated. That's it. You should be a cold, heartless Samantha B word like she is. That's what you should do.
Doctor, I've read that you have said that the separation, in your words, you said, is nothing less than government-sanctioned child abuse. Do you really think that this amounts to child abuse?
This does amount to child abuse.
And all I can say after talking to the people, watching the people, listening to the people, that the Statue of Liberty, I think, is weeping right now.
They've effectively orphaned thousands of children taken from their parents.
I'm heartbroken by what's happening, and I wonder what this means about the fabric of our country.
Now, why are all their hearts breaking in unison now? Why no tears for the victims of illegal immigrant crime, like the 14-year-old girl raped by Anastasio Eugenio Lopez Fabian just last month?
What does that have to do with this? What does that have to do with taking children away from their mothers? Nothing. And so she just wants to go, hey, did you know there was a Mexican who raped someone? So now we should fuck over kids. What? That's like the right-wing logic, though. You know, a bunch of people from Saudi Arabia attacked us. Well, we got to go into Iraq. Fuck them. What? They didn't have anything to do with it. Did you know that those people attacked us? No, not those. But who cares? That's the same logic. What does a kid have being ripped away? Have anything? Nothing. It has nothing to do with it. What it does do is reveal Laura Ingraham to be a fucking horrible person. And a bad bullshitter. And if anybody who watches this show can watch that and not have your stomach turned, you have a disconnect in your brain. Anything to say about that? Is this amazing? She goes right to, look, they're criminals.
It's a typical Breitbart tactic, the knockout game, making people just terrified of Mexicans and black people. I mean, they have an entire segment on their site that just zeroes in on every single thing happening in the country that illegal immigrants have done, black people have done. And then they hold it up as a symbol of why we should support one of the most criminal policies. I mean, this is psychological, like, warfare. This is torture
and traumatizing to children.
This is sadistic. And this is being carried out, again, by a Gestapo force that's been emboldened. They say their jobs are fun. They laugh at wailing children. And you have the audacity to defend this and paint some random case to justify this?
Yes.
This is sick.
It is sick. Laura Ingraham is a sick Samantha B word. She is sick. And anybody who defends this is sick. There's something wrong with you. Turns out there's a lot of people who are sick with something wrong with them in this country. Yeah.
Or did their heart break when another 14-year-old was left to die at the scene of a hit and run by Miguel Ibarra Cerda, a 21-year-old Mexican national?
What does this have to do?
My friends, here's what you're not hearing. The government has very good reasons for separating.
Hey, you know, there was an Italian guy who ran a mafia, so now we should separate Italian kids from their parents when they come here. Because there was John Gotti. I don't know if you know that. There was Al Capone. So we should separate. What the fuck? You know, the CIA is full of war criminals, right? You know, the head of our intelligence agency is the worst thing in the world, a torturer. Should we separate her kids from her? What the... Laura Ingraham, One of the biggest pieces of shit in the world.
Children from their family unit. The first being, they may not be the child's family at all. Children have been kidnapped, trafficked, and used by individuals who can then more easily slip into the country.
Yeah, these animals.
You know how easy it is to slip into the country when you're bringing a kid with you.
Right.
Yeah, let's go. I want to slip in to the United States with a kid.
The Obama administration's catch and release policy allowed people with children to enter the United States with only a promise to show up for a later hearing. A lot of them didn't show up, of course. The human traffickers and the drug cartels quickly seized on the weakness and exploited it, routinely trafficking people across the border using children at times as camouflage. Then, when Obama announced his...
So that's what all these kids, they're just coming in with drug dealers.
Crisis actors.
These are, they're all crisis actors coming in. They're coming in with drug dealers. What is wrong? Well, there's something wrong. Well, what's wrong with her is that she has a disconnect in her brain, which doesn't allow her to be fully human. She's not a fully human being. She's some kind of a monster. That's who she is.
DACA policy in 2012, it became yet another lure for illegal immigrants.
Yeah,
the number of unaccompanied minors from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras surged between 2012 and 2014. Check this out.
And she's laughing about it. You know why it surged? She's not going to tell you the real reason. The real reason is because we exported our drug war to those countries, which then made those countries way more violent. And people were being killed at record numbers. And that's why people were fleeing violence. She's going to tell you they were fleeing because they're a bunch of moochers who wanted to come to the United States and suck off our welfare teat. Except, every time immigrants come here, they're the hardest working people in the country.
More than 400%. The number of unaccompanied children referred to the Office of Refugee Resettlement tripled between 2012 and 2017.
Because they're coming here for asylum. And when those kids are given a lawyer, 98% of them get asylum. Because they're legally entitled to it. Because that's the kind of country we are, not a bunch of fucking Nazis.
From 13,625 to 40,810, according to the government statistics. From these immigrants come fresh recruits for MS-13 and other gangs that terrorize American cities from Maryland to California.
They come and terrorize. The Mexicans are terrorizing our cities. They're not working in our hotels and restaurants and picking our fruit and watching our kids and cleaning our house. They're not doing that, fixing our cars and washing them. And they're not doing that. No. What those Mexicans do is they come here and they join gangs and then they terrorize our cities and our country. What the fuck is wrong with you? You think like that. She doesn't think like that. She makes that shit up. She doesn't think. She knows better. She knows that immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than citizens in the United States. She knows that. She's aware. Just like the fucking Nazis were aware what they were doing. She's aware and she does it anyway. Because she's a piece of shit human being.
We've talked to the officials who told us the stories. And in June of 2014, even the Washington Post had to admit that the unaccompanied minor surge was, quote, driven in large part by the perception that they will be allowed to stay under the Obama administration's immigration policies. Astoundingly, in the fiscal year 2014, the Border Patrol apprehended 68,445, quote, family units.
So she just said a minute ago that the Barack Obama administration didn't enforce it.
Right.
But they apprehended 68,000 family units. That's not people. But I thought they didn't. So she's trying to have it both ways because she doesn't have a real argument. So she has to twist and manipulate every fact she's giving you.
Few, of course, were deported. Now, you throw in sanctuary cities, a lax amnesty program, and it's a wonder more illegals haven't come. So the Trump administration is now trying to pick up the pieces of this lawless immigration system after decades of governmental neglect. They're also trying to responsibly protect children in the government.
Okay. So that's enough of her garbage.
My God.
They're trying to be responsible. People are leaving the party over this. Even Republicans in the Senate are trying to come up with a bill to stop this horrible part. But Laura Ingraham, Miss Christian, totally on board with it. Totally on board with it. Abby?
Her reptile brain is activated.
Yes, it is.
It's just incredible. I mean, we know that this has been going on for a long time. Obama was doing the same thing, but Trump has this systematic policy now where, people are being removed from their families at the border. And the fact that she's saying this is good, this is picking up the pieces. Again, just going back to that Nazi mentality, this is just really disturbing.
That's what it is. And this is not to give the Obama administration or the Clintons anybody a pass. The Democrats are complicit in informing ICE. They're complicit in the ramping up this. Barack Obama built the infrastructure for Trump to do this. And if you look at our other videos, he was chastised for doing this, even by the New York Times, saying that you should dismantle this bullshit infrastructure you have to separate kids and house families as criminals who are immigrating here. You should do it before Trump becomes president. And of course, he didn't. Barack Obama expanded everything. He expanded the surveillance state. He handed it all over to Trump. He didn't reinstitute habeas corpus. Barack Obama repealed habeas corpus, didn't reinstitute it. So now all Trump has to do is say anybody is a terrorist and they don't get to have a trial. So if you go protest him, he can throw you in jail, and now you don't get a trial because of Barack Obama. So this isn't a partisan thing where we're beating up on the Trump administration or Laura Ingraham or Fox News. We beat up on everybody who has it coming, especially MSNBC. If there's anybody harder on MSNBC in this country, I'd like to see it than this show. So I don't want to see any of that bullshit. Oh, you're just a liberal mania. I'm not a liberal, by the way. I'm a fucking progressive, which is totally different than a liberal. And if you're okay with this, then you're a fucking garbage person.
And, aside from the fact that immigrants commit less crimes, this whole mentality, this fear-based mentality, people are self-deporting because they're just terrified. I have a lot of friends here whose mothers have just left because they just can't live in a country where people are just vocalizing this racist, bigoted hatred toward them, or where ICE is parading around the street like fucking Gestapo forces. And, what is that doing? What is that doing to people? Like, what is this mentality doing? It makes people actually report crimes less. It's actually hurting our economy and our society gravely.
The next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon, July 15th in Chicago, and July 27th in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all those tickets to those shows. Plus, don't forget, become a patron to help support independent media. We give you hours of bonus content every week. Plus, every Saturday at 2 p.m., we do our Solid Chat Saturday. It's our live stream on Saturdays, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Stick around for that. And please make sure you're subscribed. Even though you think you are subscribed to this channel, they're unsubscribing people every day. Just check. Click subscribe and then click the bell to make sure they send you a notification when we're dropping videos. Otherwise, they won't tell you. Thanks for your support.